Hello YouTube, this is Don't I Hate Tutorials again. I'm going to show you guys in a several part series how to properly clean and paint an Xbox controller. Well, I actually suppose it's kind of how to clean and paint any plastic object, but I'm just going to use an Xbox controller. I'm doing this for a friend of mine. I've done several controllers, so I actually do know what I'm doing, contrary to popular belief. There are a couple things that you'll need to clean your controller. The first is the tool that you use to take apart a controller. It's a Torx 8-bit with a security hole drilled out the center of it. You can get it really cheap on eBay. I think I got this for $1.30 on eBay. The next thing you'll need is rubbing alcohol. I use 70% because it's not quite as strong. And then I filled this little container here part of the way with water. And then I added some of this rubbing alcohol to it, so it's a very diluted solution. But it's not real strong. And you'll need a container to hold all of your random Xbox controller parts or whatever you're not going to be painting or cleaning, mostly electronic parts. And I use Q-tips and paper towels. Paper towels for large surfaces and Q-tips for nitty-gritty areas and stuff like that. Alright, so anyway, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is actually take your controller apart. And since this is an Xbox controller, I'm going to tell you how to actually take your Xbox controller apart. Right, after you remove the battery pack, the most difficult screw that's not totally obvious is there's a barcode at the bottom here. In the center of this barcode there is one of these screws behind it. You'll have to puncture this. This voids your warranty on your controller, so I wouldn't puncture this until your warranty's over, or you're absolutely positive you can do this without breaking the controller and needing a new one. You just push it in there until it locks, and then you start to unscrew it. And the screw will pop right out. I'd put all the screws in that container of stuff that you're not going to be painting. So you take all the screws out just like that. Alright, now that I've got all the screws out of the way, a lot of people take this controller apart differently. I like to hold on to the front and put my nails inside of this little crease here and push on the thumbsticks. But I like to do it facing the ground so that I pull the top off instead of letting the bottom fly out and everything just kind of goes crazy. Just push on the thumbsticks a little bit. And sometimes this part down here likes to stick. You can just pop that up with your fingernails. It's not a big deal. Just like that. Push on the thumbsticks, and everything comes out. Looks like a gerbil dress right now. You'll have your 4 buttons. These pieces inside of them don't come out, and I don't think I'm painting them, so I'm not even going to bother with that. Here's your X center button. Inside of this controller, just happened to stick, is the rings that filter the light through, so you can see the light in whole streams instead of just being little bulbs. So we'll pull that out. Alright. Then there are the button pads. This is what interprets that you're pushing the button into a connection on the motherboard of the controller. Your start button and back button. I will be cleaning these, but they're small and I don't want to lose them, so I'm putting them in there anyway. Alright. You can take your thumbsticks off to clean them if you really want, but his aren't very dirty, so I'm not going to bother with it. But you can paint them by taking these rubber pieces off and replacing them. You can take them right off. They pull right off. They're not a big deal. They go on pretty much any way you try, so it doesn't really matter. Right? Pull out your rumble pads so they can move freely. They're not really glued in there really well at all. Right? Then you pull up the bottom of the motherboard, just like that. Pull it up and pull it away, and the triggers will pop out. I need these triggers off, and they're actually kind of a pain in the butt to get off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully pull on the actual connection here of the rumble pad and pull the rumble pad off. You got to be kind of careful while you're doing this because you don't want to pull off the connection. You just want to pull off the pad. Like I'm about to do is I'm about to pull off the entire connection. There we go. And if they do pull out, it's not a big deal. They just slide right back in, but it's kind of a, you can lose them and they're small pieces and there's no need for them to ever come off, so why bother with it, right? Alright, next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take off these triggers. They're actually a little bit more difficult to put back on, and there is a spring in there. They are spring loaded, so you have to be careful about that. The first thing you're going to want to do is you push against this arm so that this little piece comes out. I'm not sure if you can see that really well, but you push against this arm so that this piece comes out, and then you push the arm down and it moves out of the way. Do the same thing over here. Push the arm out so that it falls, and then push the arm down. Oops. If I can do it, that is. Alright, now it's off that. Then you're going to push in this little lip so that there's a little locking mechanism on here so it doesn't clear this piece. You just push the button in and push the piece out, and it'll clear that little bumper. Just pinch them here and it'll clear those bumpers. Because what you're trying to do is you're getting this to overextend like that. Put your thumb in here so that the spring doesn't fall out. And you pull it out. Spring comes out. Trigger comes off. Don't touch this. This is important. Don't touch this. This is kind of a pain in the butt if you make this fall off. So don't touch this. Alright, we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to kind of pinch it and pull it up. Put your finger here. Grab the spring. Put that in there. And here's your entire motherboard. We're not taking off these plastic holders. There's no reason for it. I'm just going to put the whole thing in here. Alright, now what we have... Oh, and I forgot about your bumper assembly. Your bumper assembly is really easy. You don't want to push really hard, but you want to push with even pressure on both bumpers, holding the centerpiece. So this just pops out, just like that. And there is a button in here. If you're going to be painting this piece, which I am, you have to pull out this bumper, or you have to pull out this button. The easiest way to pull out this button is actually to push the button until it gets a little bit too far. Put your finger there to hold it, and then stick your screwdriver back under here and push it out, and eventually it will break. Now, you do need super glue to put this back on, or hot glue, or something to that effect, which I do, and I will show you while I'm painting that. But I do need to pull this button completely off. Just like that. Button came off nice and clean. And when you get to that point, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be putting a dab of super glue on the top there of the button, right there, and placing the glue right in there. Push it so the button goes back in and hold it till it dries, and there you go. I'm going to put the button in here because it's small. I will be cleaning it, but not right now. Okay, the last thing you need to do is now you have the back that's still out. You have this piece that looks like this. You have the back, which is done, ready to be cleaned. You have your bumper assembly and your bumper assembly holder. Alright, next thing we need to do is we're going to take out the D-pad here. Not a big deal. This is another one of those interpretation pads. Right, there are little screws way down in there that I totally forgot about until right now. There are little screws way down in there that you need a Phillips head screwdriver for. So I'm going to get a Phillips head screwdriver and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back with my 2 more screwdrivers. I brought a Phillips head micro and a flathead micro. The flathead micro isn't going to be used for any screws. It's mostly for prying and to get into tight spaces that I can't get into with my fingers. So we're going to take our Phillips head screwdriver and take out these 2 little screws in here. These screws are actually not important at all, so you can lose them for all I care. The D-pad stays in perfectly fine without them. I don't know why they're there. There's a little added support. The D-pad actually has a clamp system on it and stays in perfectly fine without them. Alright. Now, what I usually do is I take 2 screwdrivers and I push in these little thumb pads. You probably can't see them on the video, and I'm not going to bother showing them to you. Because if you're actually doing this, you're seeing exactly what I'm talking about, no problem. And you just push them in, D-pad falls out. and then this comes out the back. Alright, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to push off this plastic, this bottom piece. And all we're going to do is we're going to put our thumbs here and just push it. Falls right off. Okay, now here are our big main pieces. The front piece, the back piece, the bumper assembly holder, the bumper assembly, your back battery pack, and this bottom piece.